Excellent. So I think we're starting, Azia, yeah?
Yes, we have, and
Yeah.
I see people joining in.
Okay, let's just give people a 30 seconds or a minute, shall we? Just to join in, and then we'll get going in 1 second.
Sure.
And just to be clear then, so the surveys aren't working, but people can raise questions in the chat. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm going to post a question on. Yeah, I'm going to post a question on chat.
Excellent. So if we just give people another 30 seconds and then we can start, yeah?
Yeah, sure. I have 61 attendees so far.
Excellent. Okay, so shall we get going then? So good afternoon, everybody, or good evening. Thank you so much for sparing the time out of your busy day today. I'm Lloyd Skinner. I'm the CEO of Greyfly.ai. And this evening, I'm going to talk to you about AI in project management. And first of all, I just wanted to say thank you to PMI KSA for inviting me to talk today in the AI group within PMI and all of the help that's gone into preparing and sending out invites and all of that good stuff. Just to introduce myself a little bit more, my background is in large-scale project and program management. I actually ended up managing multi-years, multi-million pound transformation projects where I was the overall person responsible for those projects. So I would have technology, property, business change, operating model, all reporting into to myself. And the background to Greyfly was I actually did a master's in information systems at LSE, London School of Economics. And I went on a 25-year postmaster's anniversary and got talking to my now business partner about the technology that we'd learned on that course way back in the early 90s hadn't been applied to project management, so things like big data, cloud compute, or AI hadn't been applied to that project management. And we also both had the experience of projects not necessarily succeeding. She ended up working for the big four management consultancy companies in an assurance and audit kind of vein, as it were, as well. So we had these sort of complementary experiences, and out of the back of that, Greyfly was born. We ended up creating this idea of how to apply AI to project management, and initially we did the good old PowerPoint slides. We were then lucky enough to get quite a large grant from the UK government to create the MVP, the minimal viable product. And now today we've got a whole suite of products that go under the umbrella of intelligent project prediction. So I'm going to talk to you about those as we go through this conversation. Now, I'm led to believe that the chat is opening. I've asked Azia to curate that chat, and I'm quite happy to take questions as we go, as well as trying to get to the end of the conversation and allowing some time for Q&A as we go. So please do pose those questions, and Azia is going to do a good job to be able to curate them for me. The QR code takes you to my LinkedIn profile, so please do link in with me, and if you've got any subsequent questions, or if you have the opportunity, do follow Greyfly.ai on LinkedIn as well. In terms of the agenda, there's three key items that I want to cover today. First of all, my view or our view of how you classify AI in project management. So you know, there's lots and lots of commentators talking about AI in project management. We have a view. We've been doing this for some time now, which also then means that I can talk about some real case studies. So hopefully to whet your appetite around what those uses of AI are and what the real benefits are as well. And then finally, I'm just going to touch on about how you may want to consider to get going if you're thinking about an AI in project management journey in your organization. First caveat I want to say though is I'm using the term AI in project management. So this talk is about the application of AI to project management controls. It's not about delivering AI projects, and hopefully that a slight difference there makes sense to you. Okay, let's get going. I have a question so that I can sort of try and understand the audience somewhat. Now, we were hoping to do this via a survey, so hopefully this works for you anyway. But basically, I'm just trying to get a feel of the audience and in terms of your knowledge of AI in project management. You know, are you an Ewok? Or are you a Yoda? Or are you somewhere in between? So an Ewok, you know, you've probably come across ChatGPT or some other product like that, and maybe you've logged in and posed the odd question, but you're really at a low level maturity, as it were. So if you drop into the chat, if you're an Ewok, and then obviously just going through those ranges, if you're a Yoda, maybe you should be on this side of the fence and delivering the talk on our behalf. It's been a really interesting question that I've posed to lots of people. Obviously, Chewbacca somewhere in between. You've used ChatGPT, but you don't use it much. Layla, you're really starting to understand, and obviously Obi-Wan a little bit further. So I'll just give people 30 seconds. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work without the survey, but let's just, if you drop in your view of where you sit on that parameters, and I'm just give people 30 seconds quickly just to see what responses we get. Okay, I'm just looking here. We've got a Layla, which is interesting. Somebody is saying that they're a Yoda. Now, I delivered this conversation in Paris not so long ago, and somebody said that they were a Yoda, and I have to tell you that afterwards they admitted that they were doing it for a joke. So you know, there you go. I haven't come across many. The interesting thing for me is looking at those answers coming through is that, you know, most audiences, when I pose this question, tend to be at the Ewok and Chewbacca stage. There's the odd layer, but there's nobody higher up than that. And when you look at those answers that you can see from everybody, that I think that sort of mirrors throughout as well. You know, there seems to be quite a few people there at the sort of Chewbacca, the odd Ewok, etc. But you know, so from my point of view, that's pretty endemic of the conversations that I'm having, and it's also pretty endemic of where we are at in terms of AI in project management. You know, let's not forget this is really early days in this journey around AI in project management. And what I would say here is, for those that may know about this subject of AI in itself has been around since the 1950s in its own right. But the challenge in the 1950s was that the compute power wasn't necessarily available. So, you know, if you had a problem, it would go off into some huge voltage room of a computer, and finally spool out an answer. That same room now, you know, a mobile phone is you know, 1,000 times more powerful. So in other words, we've got the compute power that allows us to apply AI. You know, personally, I think the other major moment that's happened over the last 12 to 18 months has been the bringing to market of ChatGPT. And of course, there are other products, but Microsoft have really stolen a march in terms of the marketing of ChatGPT. So large language models, generative AI, as it were. And really, that has been the moment that has brought AI and AI in project management to the fore of everybody's minds. If we look at it today, we've now got all of the professional bodies, not just PMI, but all of the other professional bodies and lots of academics. And as I said, many commentators who are talking about AI in project management. And you know, if we think about PMI specifically, as we know, they've brought the Infinity product to market, to the marketplace, as well as the sort of PM assistant type stuff. And it's fantastic. And there's others as well that are also doing some similar stuff. So we're really at this early stage crossroads. I was at a talk the other day where somebody was talking about the end of the beginning. And for me, that really chimes. It feels like we're at the reaching the end of the beginning of when you apply AI in project management. And for me, and hopefully, you know, to you people as well, that you know, this is a really exciting time. And depending on your worldview, you know, you can take it as a really positive thing. You know, how exciting project management is going to be disrupted by AI, or you can take it as a more negative thing. You know, the robots are going to take over our jobs and displace people, etc. Again, I'm going to tease some of that conversation through as we go. What I would say is, and you know, again, aligned to the previous slide there, you know, it's very much at that individual experimentation level as opposed to that enterprise level. When you start Googling, if that's the right term these days, real case studies around AI in project management, I can tell you it's very hard to find some. So I'm going to tell you about a couple today at the enterprise level, but they are few and far between. So let me just put this in a little bit more context for you in terms of what we're talking about in AI in project management. On screen is a very high level basic life cycle of a project. You've got a pre-approval stage, and if your organization actually is bidding for projects, you know, that's all part of the bidding process. You've got a delivery stage, and then you've got an operate stage, as it were. And there's lots of conversations going on about how to make that more successful. But what we're trying to do is look at the data that is hidden within your historical project performance and serve that data early as possible in the life cycle. However, what we're trying to do is not serve data, but we're trying to turn that data into information and into knowledge and serve that as early as possible. Now I'll just try and get that to leap off the page, just using those examples. Wouldn't it be wonderful, for example, if you could look at your historical projects and let's say, I don't know, you're working in a property construction type environment, and you could look at that knowledge and say, well, this type of construction project, let's call it a new build project, when we look at those type of projects, it typically takes this long on this type of project. Or when you look at budgets, it typically costs this amount. And you can then sort of start to break that down. Maybe this new build project was in a certain province of the country, as it were, or with a certain supplier. So you can start building up a pattern around your projects. Now, for me, that starts becoming knowledge then. So if we're trying to serve that as early as possible, what we do as an organization is we also serve predictions around those projects. So what is the most likely duration, or what is the most likely budget around that particular project? And the reason we're trying to do that is we're trying to engender what we call interventions or actions to increase the likelihood of the project succeeding. And my crude definition of project success is deliver to time, deliver to budget, in this particular guise, as it were. Now, obviously those interventions may become easier earlier in the life cycle to increase success. If you've got a project that's half built or code that's half written, it's much harder to course correct or change the direction of a project, as it were. Now, when it comes to AI in project management, my perspective of this is that you need to think about this from an efficiency and an effectiveness point of view. And when I talk about efficiency, what I mean by that is doing things quicker. I'm doing the things right, as it were. So, maybe I'm doing less reporting. Maybe I'm able, by doing things quicker, more rapidly, I can do more for less, as it were. Conversely, in terms of effectiveness, for me, that's about doing the right things. So that's more about decision making. When we choose a particular project, are we going into that project with our eyes open? This is the most likely budget. And of course, if you know what the most likely budget is for this particular project, it starts making you ask questions like, well, maybe you don't want to undertake that project in the first place, as it were. If you knew that budget for the project was going to be another 100%, which is what all of those similar projects turn out to be, then maybe you want to prioritize a different project above it. So these list of AI in project management, it's not my list. There's lots and lots of, if you look at ChatGPT and say, how could AI be applied to project management? Those are the type of lists that you come up with. Like I said, for me, it's about doing things right, efficiency, and doing the right things in terms of effectiveness, as it were. If I build on that a little bit more, this is how we classify AI in project management. So let me introduce that to you. On the left-hand side, you've basically got a downward arrow as to how adaptive the computer systems are. So, in other words, almost how intelligent the AI is. And across the top there, you've got how much human involvement is in AI in project management. And as you can see, then there's a 2x2 grid. And this is a way of classifying what we're seeing in the marketplace. What I would like to do is bring it back to my point about efficiency and effectiveness. So if you look across the top there, I think that's more associated with the efficiency side. So what you typically saw is standalone products in the streamlining and automation box that worked in isolation. And what you saw over the last few years is chatbots and that type of AI being applied to those. And for those that aren't aware, there's currently about 150 different PPM tools on the marketplace. And I can tell you that of those 150, there's probably 149 that are starting to talk about AI in project management and how they're going to build AI into their particular products. If I go more towards the right here, I think for me, this is where we're really at for those more innovative organizations today. So Ivovir RPA, robotic process automation. So think in their products like Copilot that have just come to the marketplace, where you're now starting to string these individual applications together and, really kind of smart. And why are we doing that? We're doing that to improve the workflows and to increase the efficiency of how we run our projects. On the far end there, you've got this thing about large language models where, again, it's about unlocking those knowledge bases and serving those as early as possible. I don't know about you, but for me, if somebody could tell me for my particular type of project, here's the key risks, and I haven't had to do, 3 days of a risk workshop preparation to be able to draft those risks, get a whole army of people together in a room to debate about those risks, it's going to save me time. That's a brilliant application, as it were. So for me, there's a lot of value in that in terms of efficiency around your projects. But, what I said earlier was about on the effectiveness side. It's about, which projects are we doing in the first place? How do those projects fit in with the business strategy of an organization? What's my decision making around agreeing to press the green light on projects in the first place? And really, this is where you're drifting into this world of prediction and predicting the outcomes. I just wanted to also talk about what I call the bionic or self-directed projects. Now, let's just be very clear here. The bottom right-hand corner here is talking about projects where the human is no longer in the loop at all. In other words, the system is making the decisions and implementing the project. You can see there, I've got a question mark. I'm not currently aware of any project's environment where there is no human in the loop. There are some examples where the human is very much by exception in the loop, but they are still in the loop. Now, again, this is where I wanted to stop and ask a survey question for one moment. And the question I would like to pose to the audience is, do we feel that we'll ever get to the moment of the self-directed or bionic project? In other words, when the human isn't in the loop. So again, I just ask you just to put some opinions in the chat there quickly. Let's just say, does anybody believe that we'll get to a point where there is no human in the loop and basically the AI is controlling us, the robots is controlling us? Anybody's opinion? So we've got one no, we've got a couple of no's. Somebody asking for the presentation. I believe the presentation will be made available on the PMI KSA website after the event. Skynet is coming. There you go. There's somebody out there. While you're contemplating that, for me, I'm just going to give you my opinion. And my opinion, I think, is grounded in 2 dimensions. Somebody's very optimistic it won't happen. Some people saying it will take over. I think it's a fascinating debate, and what we're talking about there is crystal ball gazing to the future. And we all, unfortunately, we all don't know exactly what the future future holds. The two dimensions for me that are important is time. So if I asked that question and said, well, do we think there'll be, oh, look, somebody's actually put something in place. There's a link. Do we actually think that there will be completely autonomous projects, let's say over 100 years? I think we're more likely to get people to say, yes, we think that will happen. Maybe a smaller percentage of you would say that over 50 years that we would still get autonomous projects. I think the point is, the closer I get into today, so maybe in 1 or 2 or 3 years, or maybe even 5 years, I think the obvious answer is no. But the longer that you look over the time horizon, I think I think it's natural to contemplate that we may get to that moment. I think the other dimension that you should consider is the type of projects. So we're already starting to see this, where you get more simplistic, repeatable projects are those ones where you're seeing the automation from beginning to end. So for me, the more innovative of a project, the more, dare I say it, the more creative a project, I think that those are the type of projects that are less likely to have the human in the loop. Again, I think it's a wonderful conversation. If I was there in person, I'm sure we would have a lovely conversation both during the presentation and after. There is no right or wrong answers on this, I'm afraid, but I think it's a fantastic one. Maybe if I just start to bring that back down a little bit more closer to home, and let's talk about ChatGPT or similar products. And I would guess that if I asked the question here, that absolutely everybody has logged into ChatGPT. Again, using the chat, if you haven't logged into ChatGPT, just put your hand up. We can't see who you are. Don't worry. But my guess is that nobody would put up their hand to say that they haven't logged into ChatGPT. If I then extended that question to say, who has used it in a work guise, my guess is that possibly about 20. Thank you, Silman. Just 1 second, sir. I'm going to see whether we can bring and get you to ask the question. So my guess is that very few people, probably about 1 in 4 of you have used the ChatGPT in an enterprise mode. Now, I had an interesting one the other day. I was giving a talk at the BBC in the UK, and I asked the question, and in the BBC, you're not currently allowed to use ChatGPT. So again, it was kind of interesting that people in their own time on their own machines are still using ChatGPT because of the efficiency opportunity. My last question would be, how much have you used ChatGPT? Have you used it more than 10 or 20 hours in a given month? And by the time you ask that question, actually, there's very few people. Now, undoubtedly, some of you would have used it to that extent. And I'm talking about 10 or 20 hours as part of your work. Oh, look, somebody hasn't used it. You need to start using it. You need to start experimenting it. We'll come back to that as it were. So, the point I'm making again is that this is early days. Yeah. The reason for me it's so exciting is that, we are at this crossroads, like I said, and the use of these tools are coming, and they're coming thick and fast. And you only have to look at the LinkedIn rhetoric that that we're going to move out of this awareness stage into the next stage. Now, somebody did put up their hand for a question. Asian, is it possible to take that question at the moment from our point of view, or not?
Yeah, so I do have one question.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so they're asking, where did you find AI in project? How did you find AI in project?
Sorry.
project management to help you in terms of planning and risk?
Okay, so
If
I'm
you,
going to talk to you about both of those in the next couple of slides about real case studies. But what I can tell you is if you wanted to use ChatGPT or PMI Infinity and put in some questions about your projects, you will get some really good answers that will help you around planning. And help you around risk management. There are several project management assistants available for you as individual project managers today. The PMI Infinity product, just to let you know, you have to be a member of PMI. If there's non-members of PMI on this call, do join PMI. It's one of the great benefits of being a member of PMI. There are other products, but even ChatGPT in its own right will give you some good insight that will accelerate your planning and accelerate your risk management, as it were. Any other immediate questions before we move into the next part of the conversation? Azia, is there anything else you think?
no, that's it. Yes, there is. They're asking what certification should they be taking that connects PM with AI?
So in terms of formal certifications, yeah, there are no formal certifications at this moment in time. However, what I am aware of is there are PMI courses. So there's a Gen AI course. Actually, if you've got time, maybe you can drop that one into the chat. There are LinkedIn Live courses. I don't know whether APM, Association of Project Management, they have courses as well, which are based around personas of the use of data. So whether you're a sponsor of a project, whether you're a data analyst. But I think, yeah, there's general stuff around the use of AI, but in terms of the use of AI in project management, my view is that what you'll see over the coming months is not only the professional bodies launching courses, but you'll see the training partners of those professional bodies launching courses specifically around AI in project management, which will come with some qualifications as well. So watch this space. Again, sort of endemic of the marketplace we're in. Now, I'm going to move on. And again, you can see that my personal style is to try and stop and ask questions as I go. But I just want to make sure that we've got time to go through the whole talk, as it were. The next bit is about a case study. And this case study is for an organization that I can guarantee that you will know, and it's for the UK arm of that organization. And that organization has 300 projects. And of those 300 projects, there's about 75 that are live. In other words, there's about 225 of completed projects. And the challenge they had is that when you looked at those projects and compared them to the original budgets and the original timelines, they were not necessarily succeeding. And in particular, on the budget side, they were overspending by 19% against those original budgets. And I can tell you, if you turned the 19% into money, that run into many millions of pounds, as it were. So, these projects were being delayed, they were being overspent. So the challenge was to try and improve that situation. So what we did is we basically created the tool that I talked about at the beginning, Intelligent Project Prediction, IPP. Now, the headline for that tool is that it uses AI to provide executive insight to increase project success. Now, I just want to stress there that I focused on the word executive. And the reason I did that is because this tool predicts the end budget and the end go live point. It's not down into much more detail of the task level of a particular project, as it were. So just the big moments. In other words, those are the moments that executives want to understand. Those people that look across a portfolio of projects, either from a support point of view or from a delivery point of view or from a sponsorship point of view. They're not interested in the weeds, the detail of that individual project. Now, the benefit of taking that approach is it means that the data is more likely to exist at that level in terms of the data that you want to get to. Now, I'll come back to this point about data because, you know, this is machine learning models, and technically machine learning models will not work unless they're fed by data, and they need something called training data to be able to, you know, make those ML models work, as it were. If I just go back to the way this system works and the individuals, as it were, those individuals, as well as wanting to know what the most likely outcome for those projects are, also would like to know what's driving that prediction. So in other words, what are the features of a particular project? So if I go back to my example that I said at the beginning there, I was talking about new build projects in certain provinces, maybe for a certain customer or for a certain sector, you know, industrial sector, or maybe who's the sponsor or the type of project management methodology or the scale of the project or the amount of complexity to do with that project or the type of technology. You can see what I'm doing there is I'm painting different features or different types of projects. So that's what we do, as well as predicting the outcomes, we also identify the drivers for that particular outcome and which of those features or factors of the definition of that project are the most important when it comes to prediction. And that's based on that historical knowledge base. So those 225 projects, was it that particular project that always led to being overspent by 50%? That particular one was only being overspent by 25%, etc. Now, we look at those features both at the individual project level, but we then also sum them up so that you can look at it from a portfolio level. In other words, you know, we provide not only that individual project at risk, but we look at that, how you could transform your project capability so that you can do projects better in the future. You know, so if, for example, all of your projects with this certain supplier is leading to 50% overspend, then there's a transformation piece potentially about how you work with that particular supplier, as it were. Now, just bear with me 1 second. If you can imagine the way that is working there, you can then apply to projects not yet started as well. So if you know those new build projects in that province with that supplier are always 50% over budget, if those people who are proposing a new business case with those same attributes, the system is going to predict that that particular project's at risk as well. So you know, from my point of view, this becomes really exciting. If you go back to the efficiency side and the effectiveness side, the project's not yet started is very much in that effectiveness side. Am I doing the right things in the first place, as it were? Within the system, we have this principle that we call guided analysis. And what we mean by that is we'll tell the user of the system where to go and look for which projects are at risk and why they're at risk. But, you know, we won't give the ultimate answer. And what we've found is as users have gone to investigate those particular projects, it's brought to the surface the reality of what's actually happening. And the one thing I should also say here is that the way the system works is that it compares what's being reported by the project manager versus what's being predicted, and then it orders those in a certain view. Sometimes where the biggest difference is from a percentage point of view, or the biggest difference from a cost point of view, or the biggest difference from a schedule point of view, as it were. Hopefully that all makes sense. Now, there's one last little bit that I'm going to talk about. In fact, there's two last bits I'm going to talk about. First of all, we mentioned data earlier and the importance of data from a technical point of view. Now, what we've done is when we onboard a customer, the first thing we do is basically understand what data exists within that organization. And we do some descriptive analytics, what's the typical time, what's the typical overrun, underrun by project type, etc. And that allows us to benchmark a set of KPIs that we then want to improve in our projects going forward. However, every time we take an ingest of data, which is typically on a monthly basis because we're aligned to the progress reporting cycle, so we've got the latest actuals, the latest forecasts, the latest set of new projects, then we also play back a data maturity assessment. And the reason we do that is so that in the intervening period, we work with the host organization's PMO to improve the quality of that data. And apologies if I'm teaching you to suck eggs here. So if, in other words, I'm telling you something that you obviously know, there is a direct relationship between data maturity, project management maturity, and project success. The higher the data maturity, the more likely you're going to get project success. From my perspective, I need that data quality to be able to get accuracy in my predictions. And I'll come back to accuracy in predictions in 1 second. The last bit that we do is we also automatically suggest changes to the features of a project to increase the likelihood of success. So if I go back to my example of a new build project with this certain supplier, what would happen if I switch supplier 1 to supplier 2? Would there be a cost or a time saving? What about if I switched to supplier 3? Would there be a further cost or time saving? Now, if you imagine what you're doing there is what if planning. And like I said earlier, if your project's underway, it's very hard to switch a supplier. You've probably got some huge tomb of a contract in place, and it will take a whole army of lawyers to stand a supplier down and stand one up. But if you're in the earlier stages of the project before those contracts are placed, and you know that supplier 2 on this particular type of projects are the ones that do deliver to time and budget, then you're more likely to want to select supplier 2. So that's built into the system as well. It's all automatically generated. I did say 2 things. There's one other thing I wanted to talk about, which is about something called explainable AI. Now, for me, this is really interesting because, again, this is linked to the nascent nature of the technology. In other words, us as humans may not believe the predictions. Yeah, that the prediction is saying this. This highly experienced project manager is saying, no, I'm reporting it's Y. I don't believe the system. So we have to do a couple of things there. First of all, we have to demonstrate the accuracy of the prediction. And the way that we measure accuracy of the prediction is, what is the prediction system saying versus what actually happened on the project? Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. What's the prediction system saying versus what actually happened? And the delta between the two is the prediction accuracy. We then put that front and center within the system, both on every single page. We have a accuracy rating in the system. We also then have like an admin screen that shows you how that is operating over time. So that's how the system works. You know, for anybody that wants to know more, please do get in touch with me. Now, in terms of the way that we go through that journey, dare I say it, we run it like a project in its own right. I use this term WAGILE, so a mixture of waterfall and agile. You know, we have a series of steps that we go through. And you know, what we do there is at the end of the day, we take a monthly ingest, we play back the data quality health check, we play back the predictions on the individual projects along with those drivers, and then we look at those drivers across the portfolio, notwithstanding how well the data quality and the trend of the accuracy is going. The reason I say it's WAGILE is that at the end of that first stage, for example, once we've done the discovery around what data exists in your organization, we also then create what we call the wireframe for the system. So, you know, you can imagine what we've got here is a vanilla system that is then configured to your particular organization. So before we go off and build the back end of the infrastructure, before we configure the front end, before we hand over and review. For those that want to know, technically we are built in an Azure backend and a Power BI front end. I don't know about your country, but certainly in the UK, I would argue that about 99% of Power BI users. Obviously, there are other products available, but what it means to me is that during that discovery exercise, part of my questioning is this a standalone system, or is this about integrating it within existing dashboards, as it were? The one thing that I've just alluded to, but I haven't touched on yet, that I really just want to spend 30 seconds focusing on, is that, you know, this conversation today has been very much from a technical point of view. Now, you know, I am a massive advocate that this is as much about a change management or a transformation journey as it is about a technical journey. So go back to what I said earlier there. When you're presenting a predicted outcome to somebody that is a experienced project manager, you need to take that person with you. More importantly, it's also about how you're going to use prediction systems. So, you know, so I've got a great prediction. So what? Yeah. And we as an organization went through, you know, our early years was to create that really accurate, high performing prediction system. But then it was about the so what. So, for example, how do you integrate that prediction within your workflows? Maybe if you're talking about projects in delivery, maybe it's part of the monthly progress report or a gate review or an assurance review. If it's part of the project's not yet started, maybe when business cases are being proposed, you know, the business case is being proposed, what's the prediction system? Gets even cleverer as well. If we go back to, well, why are we just serving predictions? Why not also serve, well, here's the list of similar projects, you know, when we were talking about the patterns that are being recognized, well, maybe even serving the lessons or the risks associated with those projects as well. So where are we today? I'm really proud to say that we're predicting at 96% accuracy at the start of a project, yeah, based on projects with good quality data. So, you know, just a minor caveat there, as it were. We are identifying a huge opportunity for saving as well. I'm just going to stop for 1 second and just see if, Asia, have you got any questions from anybody before I move on to the next case study?
Yes, I do. So no problem. So someone's asking, is there an ethical challenge on using AI for project management?
I think that's much bigger conversation. So if I boil that down to some basics, for example, earlier when I was talking about various features around projects, let's say those features could be an individual, you know, who's the sponsor of the project, who's the project manager, who else has been the team. And it's been a really interesting journey for us on that front. The one side of it is the sort of GDPR, so the anonymization of those individual names. But I can tell you some organizations interpret GDPR in different ways. But for me, it becomes a conversation around capability versus performance of those individuals. Some of our customers want to know those names of those people so that they can work with them to improve their capability. The short answer, I think, to the question is yes, but you need to interpret that for your particular organization. And one thing I would say, which is related to this as well, is that, you know, I don't know whether you caught the nuance of what I said earlier, but this is a vanilla system that is then configured to your organization. And the reason why I say that is that we don't blend data from different organizations together, because we basically believe that every organization runs projects slightly differently, as it were. So yeah, the short answer is yes, but that's a whole workshop in its own right, Asia. Any other? One more, if there's one more.
Yeah, there is. So they're saying, how can we authenticate the information generated by AI into project management?
How can we authenticate?
I
I'm
think
not sure what exactly they mean by that.
I think what they mean is, how can they incorporate the AI
So how do you go about
generated
implementing?
information into project management?
Yeah, well, I hopefully
Yeah.
I've answered that by the page that's on screen, which is go about it in terms of a implementation of a tool. I'm actually in a couple of pages time, I'm going to actually attack that question head on, which is how do you go about it within your organization? But again, you know, short answer is run it like a project, and also this is transformation. So in other words, don't try to do too much too soon, but I will come back to that question. I'm conscious of time, Asia. Shall I move on?
We've got 6 minutes left.
Okay, so I'm really conscious of time. I've obviously done too much speaking. So very quickly, I'm going to talk about the next case study, which is intelligent project lessons. So for those organizations that have gone through the pain to log lessons around their historical projects, what happens is typically those lessons become shelfware. They never see the light of day. And they're never used again. We've all been there. You know, you go and you propose a project and they say, have you learned the lessons? And you go, yes, we've learned the lessons, but you haven't really. So that is the challenge that we've attacked from here. First of all, if you can imagine, it's about the right lessons. So if I go back to my example, which were the lessons associated with that new build project? If I've got a new project that's coming through, which is a new build, make me look at those particular lessons. And even that, through feature recognition, is through pattern recognition, is kind of interesting. What we've then done is actually gone a few steps further. We've used Gen AI, so we've used OpenAI to sift through that lesson database and basically summarize those lessons and remove duplicates. So if you can imagine, let's say in your example there that there's 10 new build projects, and within those 10 new build projects, 5 of them said the sponsor communications was a lesson that needs to be improved on. We've only written that once into the system. So we've identified that. The other thing that we've done is not only are we serving the lessons, but we are blending the mitigation of those lessons from internal sources with external sources. So those lessons around that project sponsor communication, maybe there are half a dozen mitigations around those lessons. You can then start blending those. We blend them with OpenAI, but we intend to blend them, for example, with Infinity, when Infinity has a commercial offer to be able to link in with organizations, or maybe we can blend them if it's an APM house or a Prince2 house as well. So as these data sets become available, you can start blending in the best of breed, as it were, in terms of mitigations for lessons. Now, the other thing about lessons is, as we all are experienced professionals on this call, we know that lessons are just the other side of the coin of risks. So lessons have happened, risks may happen, as it were. In other words, the technology that I'm talking about here is equally applied to risks as it does to lessons. Now, I'm conscious that I don't really have time to go through that because we've got 3 minutes. Asia, I'm just going to do this one slide, if I may. And then maybe one more last question. It was about the lessons that we've had on this journey of implementing AI in project management. And for me, I touched on it a second ago, run this journey like a project in its own right. And certainly, I believe strongly that the number one attribute in terms of project success is to get a good project sponsor. So if you're planning to implement AI in project management, go through it by getting hold of the right sponsor at the right level of the organization. Those other lessons, as you can imagine, they're fairly ubiquitous to any project that of a technical nature. We talked about data, we talked about the technical complexity, and the very astute person that raised ethics as well. There's a whole compliance point here as well. The other point here is that, as you heard, it's starting, it works, and it's more about the so what question. How do you embed these type of tools into your particular workplace? Caveat, 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 this is a change journey. This is a transformation journey. There will be resistors along the way. So don't just stand up a technical work stream, stand up a change management work stream, and stand it up as a project with budget and with resources. Make sure you start getting this closed loop. Asia, I think we've got 1 minute. If there's one last question from the floor, then please do pose it.
Sure, we can take one question. Sure. Okay, so there's a comment actually. They're saying the comment is that they don't understand how the system would benefit an organization that doesn't have a decent repository of project data and lessons learned. And this is particularly common in the MENA region.
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. The first thing I would say is you're not necessarily in the minority. Yeah, this journey, the tools that I've just talked about are for those organizations that have medium level data maturity. For those ones that are at the earlier stage, you need to plan out your AI and project management journey. We can talk about that almost as a separate thing, but for me it's about working out how you're going to go about that journey towards AI and project management. Which data points are important? Which systems are you going to use? Which infrastructure are you going to put in place? So you almost need to do a plan for the plan, if that makes sense. Work through a strategy. And again, do get in touch with me. You're not alone on that, but that becomes more of an initial consultancy piece as opposed to implementing a tool. The tool becomes, maybe step 2 on that journey as well. Actually, I think we're out of time. I presume, does it just cut off, or do we have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions?
No, we're still here.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So if anybody, I don't know how many people are left on the call, but should we hang around for a couple of questions for maybe another 10 minutes or something?
Sure, we can, but can I just make one announcement?
Yes, of course you can.
It's Lloyd, it's about the AI hackathon. Would you like to make it that, or would you like me to
No,
announce?
Asia, you announce.
Okay, sure. So the announcement is that PMI KSA chapter will be having an AI hackathon. We're looking for mentors and we're looking for participants. So if you have any projects or products that you've built, please share with us. I can share the guidelines for the hackathon. The winner will be announced in the Global Project Management Forum in Riyadh that we will be having in June. So that's where you may be you may showcase your product there or your project. So please get in touch with me. I've already shared my LinkedIn profile on the chat. Please share your interest with me and I'll share the guidelines with you to participate in the AI hackathon. Thank you.
It's fantastic. If people want to go and start experimenting, it's a great idea, Asia. I know it's something that we've done in the UK. We've done some hackathons, and maybe if it goes well, maybe it will become a series of hackathons. It's a great way to start embracing, AI. If you just want to get involved, I think it's a fantastic idea. Again, there's my contact details on screen. Do follow greyfly.ai on LinkedIn or link in with me and I'll have a chat about this and any of those more specific questions people have got, or if we don't get a chance to answer them. But as you should we take another 10 minutes and just see if there's maybe a couple more questions and see how we get on?
Oh yeah, definitely. Sure, we do have a few questions. I know some of you guys are asking for the PDU code. I'm waiting for the administration to share the PDU code with me so I can share it with you guys. But however, there's another question they're saying. So someone's asking, is there an AI tool that helps with data repository?
Yeah, the short answer is yes, but I'd go back to the step before that, which is what are your requirements in the first place? I've got this great ditty about data. Sorry, I may not be directly answering the question, but I just want to get this message across to people. So this is my little ditty. So over the last 6 or 7 years, I've moved house several times, and when I move house, I pack everything up in boxes and I move it to the new house and I put some of those boxes in the loft. And then 2 years later, I go to move a house again. And what do? I go up to the loft and I take those boxes out of the loft that I haven't opened for the last 2 years and I move them to the new house. Now, the reason I'm saying this is think about this from your data perspective. We have, as humans, a humongous propensity to collect rubbish. Yeah. And I think that's the same point about data. Yeah. So if you start trying to collect data, way too much detail, and I'm being general here. Yeah. It is not worth the effort of the collection, as it were. So just have that thought about, what is the data model that is the most important to you as an organization? What are those attributes of a project? And I think what you'll find is that there's less than you think that are really important to collect as well. Sorry, Ajay, next question, if that's okay. You like my ditty. Hopefully people understood my ditty.
Yeah, I know they're asking for the recording. So the recording will be shared, or the recording will be uploaded on the PMI KSA chapter YouTube channel. I don't think we have any more questions for now.
Oh, okay. Well, and hopefully, it's been an informative conversation. It's been good. I can see a lot of people have been reaching out to me on LinkedIn. Please do that. And like I said, follow greyfly.ai. I'm hoping, as Asia knows, that I'm hoping to come to the Kingdom for the June event. It's not official yet, but I'm hoping to come and do that. So if I do that and if you're shy, please do seek me out and have that conversation. There is a lot more to be said. I must admit, it's probably easier to deliver this talk in person. It's certainly far more dynamic, but I would just like to say thank you so much for listening, and especially on such a special day today for you guys, your founding day. So thank you so much for listening, and the recording will be made available, but please do get in touch as required.
Sure. Thank you, Lloyd. Thank you for taking the time out, and thank you for the wonderful presentation. It looks like that people really enjoyed your presentation. We had good number of attendees. We had around 100, 100 plus attendees here.
Fantastic. Are we still recording, as you are?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. It's wonderful. 100 attendees is fantastic. It just shows you the level of interest in this subject. And, like I said, in an hour, you're just touching, you're scratching the surface of this subject. So maybe we should stop recording and close the.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Wait, you'll have to leave. Oh, okay. Wait, let me.
Okay.